And so here it is. This means that men, this reminds us while checking on your fathers, your brothers, on your fathers, your brothers, sons, pastors, friends, and coworkers, sometimes asking, "Are you okay?" can literally save somebody's life, man. Asking somebody. Well, what's up, family? It is your boy, and it is your preacher, your teacher, and hopefully, if anything else, I hope I'm your favorite podcast. And before we get started, I need you to like, share, and like this podcast. Today's conversation is going to be very needed. We need to talk. We really do need to talk. And so I want to share this. But before we do that, I need y'all to like, share, like, whatever y'all do in the comments, because it's gonna get real good. All right. Yeah, so I got an opening question. I got a question for you. When was the last time that you checked? When was the last time that you checked on your mind the same way you checked on your bank account? We spend so much time asking people how's work, how's school, how's church, how's your team, how's the draft, how's your family, but we rarely ask y'all how are you really. So today we're talking about something that affects every single one of us, and that is mental health. While you're thriving, while you're surviving, or simply trying to make it through another week, this conversation is for you, because all of us are dealing or have done or have dealt with some type of form of mental health battle, mental health struggle, whatever you want to name it, struggling on mental health. Or we know people, or we love people that, or we know people that we love that are battling their mental health. So today's goal isn't about diagnosing anyone. I don't have I'm not a mental health counselor. I'm not but it's to create awareness, start healthy conversations, because that's what we do here, and remind you to take care of your mind as important as you take care of your body. And so everybody has a term of mental health, but mental health is much more than having, a mental illness. Mental health is the way we think, the way we feel, the way we respond to stress, build relationships, solve problems, as well as handles life challenges. So I want to dispel this myth right now. Good mental health doesn't mean you're happy every day. Let me say that again. Good mental health is not mean you happy day. It means you have healthy way to process your emotions. Let me say that again. Good mental health does not mean you're happy every day. It means that you have healthy ways to process all the emotions that you may feel. So where that may be, happy, sad, grief, all this other stuff. But poor mental health is always um, obvious. Either it can show up in constant stress, anxiety, burnout, depression, emotional exhaustion, grief, loneliness, feeling numb, losing motivation, and feeling overwhelmed. And so here it is. What comes to your mind when you hear the word mental health? Like, when you think of mental health, what comes to your mind? Like, what comes to my mind is somebody who has so much emotion, somebody who has so much this, that they don't know how to handle it. Like, people could be happy, like people who are happy and success, but then they don't know how to manage that emotion. And so what does poor mental health look like? Because we're in this day and age, and I'm gonna get into this later, but we're in this day and age where everyone is battling something. Everyone is trying to cope with something. Everyone is is trying to navigate this world, because we live in a world where we are constantly filled with information. So you're getting information 24/7. You're getting information really from the time you wake up to the time you close your eyes. And so it's like sometimes like our brain is on overload because you're trying to process every little information. You're trying to process your likes. You're trying to process your career. You're trying to process your relationship, family life. And so you really, your mind is how you cope with all that stuff. Because if your mind is feeling panicking, your habits is going to show panic. And so sometimes people assume mental health, someone is crying every day. And that's not necessarily the key, because sometimes poor mental health look like smiling while secretly hurting. And we all know those people who you ask them and they're always good. And you know what I mean? Because you smiling, but inside you're battling this, battling that, and being constant irritated. So we know people who just mad all the time. Like they just like they go with $1 billion and they find something to be irritated about. Oh, well, they didn't sign my check like this. Or people who are sleeping all day. So you may know people, and this could be a sign, people who are sleeping all day, like you don't even have the energy, or here it is, the urge to get up all day or to get up. And then you have people who can never sleep. And I've experienced this. Like there was a season where like I felt like I just could not go to sleep. Like it was just like I would go to sleep for an hour, if that. So you're battling, because it's like it's hard for you to shut down your brain. Or is it, sometimes mental health can look like this: people who isolate themselves, yourselves from friends. So people who are constantly in that spirit of isolation. I'm not saying everybody who isolates is dealing with something, but people like who once were in a group and then they start isolating themselves, and not just like that, oh, I need a break, but like for real, isolating themselves. And then you have people who are working nonstop, so you don't have to think. So you don't want to rest, because the moment you rest, the moment that you like take a breather, all of those emotions are going to attack you, and all of those emotions are going to rush you. Then you have people who are constantly scrolling to avoid your feelings. So people who are always on social media, always getting their validation on social media, always trying to get a quick glimpse, like try to live their lives through other people's lives, because you feel like other people's lives are better. You feel like other people's lives are advancing. So you can escape and scroll and do this, you feel like that. And then you have people who lose interest in one thing once they love. So people, and let me tell you this, people can evolve. I'm not saying that everyone who does that, but there are people who can once love something and then instantly hate it. And it's like, because that thing doesn't give them the quickest fix. Or you have people who feeling emotional exhausted, so they're just exhausted from all of these emotions. You and I want you to take, because this episode is not about saying you got a mental health way, but this conversation today is really about observing those people in your community, observing those people around you, observing those people in your circle. Because have you ever pretend everything was okay when you're watching? So when we look at this, we could, and when I was listening to these things, you could picture one of your friends or somebody in your circle, and here it is. Sometimes we don't want, it's not that they don't want to tell you, and it's not that, and I've been there and I'll tell my story, it's not that people, we don't want to tell you but it's kind of like, if we tell you, then we feel like we're burdening you. So then there's an emotion of, oh, I'm disrupting other people's lives. I'm disrupting, or I'm disturbing other people's lives. And now you feel like, oh, look, there you go again, causing problems. So I want you to look at this list I just said: smiling while hurting, being constantly irritated, sleeping all day, never sleeping, isolating yourself from friends, people who work nonstop, people who are constantly scrolling, losing interest. I want you to look at them, and I want you to, people in your circle, I want you to pick up, see if you can see those habits, because it is this thing is like an epidemic. Like we have to take care of our mental health. We have to take care of our minds, because here it is. The mind, I say this all the time. The mind is the first thing to go. And so if you so busy trying to help other people and not taking care of your mind, you're gonna be in bad shape. And so here it is. We sometimes it can look different from men to women, and I want to talk about the men who are dealing who are dealing with this mental health. Men who are crying out for help that you don't even know it. So you have many men, males. Sometimes they grow up with that feeling that they can't cry. Sometimes they feel like, you hear them say, "Oh, I gotta tough it out." Or sometimes they feel like, people say, "Be a man," or figure it out, or you got to figure it out yourself, or nobody wants to hear your problem. And so because of this, many men are, even today, are silently struggling with, instead of talking, they are becoming angry. They're they're withdrawing themselves. They're trying to overwork themselves. They're trying to abuse substance. I remember I was in a season. I was in a season where I was just so mentally exhausted, mentally drained, that I literally felt like I had to figure it out myself. I was like, the Lord, I'm a preacher, so I was like, the Lord, no, 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 no. The Lord is gonna give me, He's gonna give me a solution. And so I was like constantly overworking myself. I was constantly stressing. I was constantly trying to find the answer in this and in people and in sensationalism. So I was just trying to get that fix of what can I do to compare myself, or what can I do to get that feeling how I was feeling when I was in high school, how I was feeling when I was doing that, until I really had to stop and think and say, you're really running yourself in circles. So, brother, I'm talking to you, brothers. How many of you are out here running yourself in circles because you feel like always got to be a man? You feel like you got to figure it out yourself. You feel like nobody wants to hear your problem. You feel like you can't cry. You feel like you can't yell at. I want to talk to you looking at me. I want to say that is a myth. That is a myth. I've been learning in the season of my life that there is strength in community. That the reason why we feel this way sometimes is because we're not in a, for one, we don't have a community, or we are not in a healthy community. And so when we're not in either of those two things, when we're not in a healthy community, we feel like, oh, those around us can't even help us no way. So I'm not going to waste my time. Or if we don't have no community at all, we're trying to figure everything out. We're trying to figure out how we're gonna get to this. We're trying to figure out how we're gonna that, and we end up in this thing, in this life thing called like a checklist. We're trying to check all the boxes, but then the box that we're not checking is: Are you okay? Are you physically? Are you mentally? Are you thing okay? And so one of the greatest lies that society tells us is that men that is vulnerable equals weakness. The truth is, talking about your pain also, it takes courage. It takes courage to say that, man, I don't got all the answers. It takes courage to say, man, no, I don't have it. And think about it. I made a post about this for men's mental health, and next year I'm gonna do big on that. But as a teacher, it was kind of struggling some days when I knew that some of my students weren't eating. I knew some of my students were dealing with stuff at home, and I couldn't be the savior. I couldn't help them. I couldn't like just come to their rescue. It burdened me because I didn't have all the answers. It burdened me that that Mr. President could not do this. And also, here it is. I talked about it. The burden of living with other people's expectation of your life. How many of you have been living with burdens other people expectation, and it's become a burden. So you got to do this, you got to do this to look successful, or to look like your dad, or to look like your brother, or to look like your role model. Or you feel like, if I don't live up to the expectation, or if I don't become everything that they poured into me, I'm gonna be in a failure. No, life tells you when to pivot. Life tells you when to go. You are okay to fail. It's okay to fail. It is also okay to charter your own path that may be going against others people expectation of your life. It really is. It is okay. Like, can I free you here today? Can I free you here on while you're watching this? Maybe Monday or whenever. It is okay for you to not live up to their expectation, because some of you are really, you're putting yourself in a lot of pressure. You're putting yourself in a lot of debt. You're putting yourself in a rut, in a cycle, because you're trying to live for them and not you. You're trying to live for them. And so here it is. So not only for men, but for women, you have women out here carrying multiple responsibilities at one time. They're career women, they're mothers, guardians, aunties. They're trying to find a relationship. They're trying to manage family relationship, caregiving, also while being that emotional support for everyone else. But many women are willing to seek support, but they're experience higher level of anxiety, burnout, even depression, and emotional exhaustion, because they're constantly pointing to everyone else. So I got a question for y'all. Do you think men and women are expected to deal with emotions differently? I think they are, because it is, I feel like in society, it is okay for women to cry. It's okay for women to do this. But then you have a man who got to be strong, and also, let me tell you, it depends on the concept, because you could have that mother who don't want to show her kids that she's breaking down, so she'll never break down. You will may have that grandmama who may be struggling, that auntie who may be struggling, or whatever, and they're not going to show, because they don't want their kids to see them break down, because they feel like if their kids see them break, and honestly, I grew up in I was talking to my mom about that. Like, it was so good that my parents, they really like they were talking about the sacrifice they made. Like, they were talking about one time how at Terrific Kids, we get like, if you're a Terrific Kid, you get a little pizza thing. And they were like, it was sometimes we were at our lowest, and they would let me use my Terrific Kid for pizza, and then my mom would ask for a piece, and she would, and that's how she would eat. So she didn't want to let me know that she was struggling. So she was dealing with that mental illness, like, how I'm gonna do it for my kids, how I'm gonna support my kids and support me. And so here it is. We really see this, and I'm gonna talk about the Black community. And how do we tackle mental health? Growing up, I always heard, pray about it. I heard stuff like this, you'll be all right. I heard stuff like this, stay strong. This look for all my church folk. This too shall pass. We don't go to therapy. What? I remember one time somebody told me, if you go to therapy, they gonna think they they gonna think you crazy. They gonna think you doing this. Yeah, I remember, this is all crazy, y'all. I remember before, this is how deep this thing. I'm gonna tell my story. Before my trial sermon, if anybody don't know, I'm a preacher. And before, in my denomination, before we get ordained and stuff like that, we gotta do a trial sermon, initial sermon, whatever you want to call it. And y'all, I had like a suicide episode 3 weeks before I did my initial sermon. 3 weeks. Because life was life, and I just started college. I don't really tell the story a lot, but I just started college. And I was just dealing with a lot. And so I'm the pressure of college. I wasn't doing great at college. I was in a situationship. I was in, you know, I was coaching. So here's my life. I'm in, situationship. I'm in college freshman year. I'm going to football practice. I'm I was in the Call Me Mister program. I was in a college program. And so here it is. I never had time to really deal with me. And looking at me, I had gained weight. I had my hair was a mess. I was looking awful. And when the situationship ended, um, I was at rock bottom. And so I felt in my mind that it it was I didn't want to live. So I had this moment, whatever. And can I tell you this? That during that time, nobody offered me, man, you need to go speak to somebody. Oh, but here it is. And even in my mind, I said, okay. So I was like, okay, a week out. I was like, okay, well, I'll be good. And it wasn't until my school said, no, before you come back on this campus, before you go to your next, like before you gotta go to therapy. We gotta know if you all right. You know what I mean? And y'all, but here's the story. During that time, I'm also doing my trial sermon. And looking back at it, that was so unhealthy. But and it was so unhealthy. But it wasn't until I started going to therapy and I started to pray and I started to say, God, I need help. Give me the strategies. Give me the strategies to help. And he sent a therapist. And so here it is. You can have God and you can still go to therapy. Counseling, doctors, wise mentor, a community. That's what made the Black community so strong. Growing, in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, we had a sense of community. We had a sense of community. You cannot grow in life all by yourself and be mentally healthy. You cannot grow all by yourself. You cannot go all by yourself doing, that's not going to work. You need some community. And so seeking help isn't really about losing faith, isn't about stripping you from your Blackness. Sometimes healings look like praying, and sometimes healing looks like talking, and sometimes it looks like doing the both. I thank God for my therapist. I thank God for that season of therapy, because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have made it. If it wasn't for that wise counsel and that strategies, even when I moved up to Greenville, I would have been in a dark place. Or even more dark places. That's another story. Moving up here to Greenville, no community, work environment. No family close to me. If I didn't lean on to those strategies that I learned when I was here, or when I learned in that last season of my life, or in therapy, or talking to my therapist, I wouldn't be here on this podcast today. That's so true. Because you can't, no matter how much you try, you succeed, but you need a community. So what conversations do we need? I hope this podcast, this episode is a signal to you that, man, I need to go get help. I need to find my community. I need to go to a therapist. I need to do this because I don't want you to struggle anymore. I don't want you to struggle, because according to, here it is, and y'all don't believe me, believe the numbers. According to the National Alliance of Mental Illness, more than 1 in 5 adults in the United States experience a type of mental illness every year. So this means that this isn't a rare issue. This isn't a black, white, Asian, Hispanic, Muslim, Hispanic, Mexican, Canadian, whatever, Nigerian, whatever. This isn't a rare issue. This is happening to everybody. If you're sitting in a room with 10 people, that says that 2 out of the 3 people are battling with something mentally. So some are, and here it is, some of us are just better at hiding it. So we hide it in money, we hide it in sex, we hide it in alcohol, we hide it in this and that. And then also, according to the National Institute of Mental Health, men die by suicide nearly 4 times often than women. So this doesn't mean men experience more emotional pain. It often means men are less likely to ask for help before reaching a crisis. I was there. I didn't ask for help. I was struggling. I didn't ask for help. No, no. Mr. President, no. I was too big for help. I felt like that. I felt like I was too big for help, or I felt like those people that were going through, they didn't have my answers. And so here it is. This means that this reminds us, while checking on your fathers, your brothers, on your fathers, your brothers, sons, pastors, friends, and coworkers, sometimes asking, "Are you okay?" can literally save somebody's life, man. Asking somebody that simple question, "Are you okay?" and then giving them that safety enough to let them know that this is a safe place, that you're not going to destroy them, you're not going to make them feel what, can really help somebody's life, y'all. And so researchers always also say that women are more likely to men to seek professional mental health therapies. There is websites, y'all. There's websites all out here to find a therapist. You have no excuse. You can get it online. If you can't go to nobody, you can do this. But y'all, the resources are out here, man. They out here. I promise you they are. And then here it is. So reaching out is not a weakness, y'all. Here it is. Another statistic. According to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Black adults are significantly less likely to receive mental health treatment than the overall U.S. population, even when they experience similar mental health struggles. You know why? Because there's a stigma, there's a lack of access. So we don't have accesses to that in our communities. Um, the cost, the distrust of mental healthcare system, our culturally expectation to be strong. Listen, that is out of the window. You better go find some help. You better go find some help, y'all. I hope this is helping you. But look, this can't just be your only help. I don't know you personally. Some of you I do. I don't know you personally. I need you to go find help. I don't care if you're black, white, whatever. I need you to go find help. I really do. Because that could be the difference between a successful life, for real, y'all. A happy life, a life where you're not battling, a life where your mind can really rest, a life where your mind can really say, "Y'all, I got this." And so here it is. Here it is. This is 6 ways. I want to share with y'all 6 ways to 6 ways or 5 ways. 5 ways to help protect your mental health. First, talk to someone. Talk to someone. For real. Therapists all out of here. Talk to someone. The second one is rest. Y'all, we are not AI. We are not computers. We are not this and that. You better go find somewhere to rest, take a vacation, healthy rest. There's such a thing of healthy rest. You are not a machine. You know John, what is it, John Green or John whatever in the engine. So yeah, look, in the story, he beating out, carving out the machine. Here it is. He ends up dying just to prove a point. I ain't dying to prove no point, y'all. And I don't want you to die to prove a point that you can do it all. Because here it is. Those same people, you can't do it. Some of them using reverse psychology. Oh, you can't do it. Then guess what? They get what they want out of you. Then you dead and gone. Then they move into the next person. Also, healthy balance. No is a sentence. No. No is a sentence. Start using it. I have to set healthy boundaries. Like, sometimes talking to, my parents and grandparents and all this other stuff, sometimes I got to remind them, hey, I am an adult too. Church people, my coworkers, look. Huh? So you got to set those healthy boundaries with your relationships, with your family, church, wherever you are in, wherever your space you occupy. You got to set some healthy boundaries. Move your body, y'all. It is so important, and this is going long, y'all. It's so important to walk, exercise, y'all, gym, whatever and you ain't got to be the gym to get fit or to be skinny and whatever. Your body needs movement. Like for real. It needs movement. Go exercise, stretch, simply get outside, absorb some of that sun, put some sunscreen on, but absorb some of that sun. Your body needs it. It feeds off of it. Y'all, it's not funny, but I just want, as we end this, I want you to look at what does mental health mean to you? What is one thing you've been carrying that no one knows about? Do you think therapy is still taboo? I want you to ask yourself these. How do you protect your peace? What habits have helped you? And what habits have hurt you? All right. And I want you to answer these in the comments or DM me or just answer it to yourself. I want you to answer these questions because before this week is out, I check on 3 people. I want you to check on 3 people. 1, 2, 3. And not by asking you what's up, instead asking, how's your mind? So before this week is over, ask 3 people. Say, not what's up, y'all. No, ask them, how's your mind? How are you doing for real? Like, and if you're not okay, this is a safe space. And ask someone the same question, ask you that same question, have enough. And when somebody asks you that same question, have enough courage to say, okay, yeah. Because remember, strong people struggle too. Successful people struggle too. Pastors struggles, teachers, parents, students struggle. But struggling doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're human. So at Legacy Builders Podcast, right here, we're not just building careers, we're not just building businesses, we're not just building ministries, we're building healthy minds, we're building healthy hearts and healthy families, because the greatest legacy you'll ever leave begins with becoming healthy yourself. So take care of your mind, y'all. Take care of your mind, because your mind helps shape the legacy you're trying to leave behind. The version that you're trying to make is great. I love you, family, y'all. This has been a good episode. I love you. I promise you I do. See y'all next Monday for another episode of Legacy Builders Podcast in this great summer of faith. We got this. We're going to keep growing. We're going to make it. Love y'all.